Today, Sony beat Jeff Keighley to the punch by showing a bunch of trailers before Summer Games Fest shows a bunch of trailers. This is Checkpoint. Welcome to Checkpoint. It's a busy day for video game news.
And that's all the time we've got for this week's Checkpoint. Like, share, and whatever.
Wait. You got somewhere to be. Ooh, yeah, let's get patreon.com/loadingradio. Let's go. While in some ways I miss the bombastic pre-COVID pageantry of the big publishers' E3 showcases with their live music and horrible banter, I also appreciate that all the major players have adopted Nintendo's model and realized that all people really want is an hour of trailers with as little downtime as possible. Anyway, it was Sony's State of Play yesterday, and while there's never much to say for us when the story is games were announced, here's a quick rundown of some of the highlights. Sony and Marvel recruited famed developer Arc System Works, notably makers of Guilty Gear and BlazBlue, to develop a very Arc System Works fighting game based on Marvel heroes. Marvel told them to make the game Arc wanted to make, so now Iron Man looks like Kamen Rider. Hell yeah. Pragmata, a game announced 5 years ago and so delayed that Capcom actually released a trailer to announce that it was going on indefinite hiatus, is now back with a confident release date. Great news for gamers who want to be space dads with a tiny magic robot daughter/backpack. IO Interactive, the Hitman devs, are making a James Bond game that looks like an Uncharted game, and really my only complaint is that we don't need another Bond has to earn his 00 status story, considering it felt like Daniel Craig had 3 of them. And finally, good news, bad news from Square Enix. The good news, arguably the great news if you're even a passing Final Fantasy fan, is that Final Fantasy Tactics is receiving a complete remaster with improved graphics and UI and full voice acting. Plus, a port of the original game is included. The bad news is that, according to scriptwriter and story director Yasumi Matsuno, the original game was inspired by a time 30 years ago when he felt Japanese society was, quote, robbed of hope when dreams were measured by their price tag. And he feels that 2025 is the right time to bring back this story of fighting an entrenched social class system. But in, maybe not good news, but at least inspiring news, he does end with this message: the will to resist is in your hands. So, if you can bring yourself to not pre-order, I guess that would be a start.
Elden Ring Nightreign, a standalone spin-off to the immensely popular FromSoft game of mostly the same name, launched last week. The game can be played in single-player mode, but it was intended and balanced for groups of 3. This is a fairly unusual choice in the video game landscape, and just this week, the devs have confirmed they will roll out a duos mode eventually. Chat, what can we learn from this? Does it take more work to balance a relationship of exactly 2 players than it does a larger group? Maybe feelings are more likely to be hurt when the same player in the duo always gets to sleep in the top bunk in the Mad Wizard's jail cell, or finishes all the rations without sharing. Maybe a lower-level adventurer with a cool hat catches one of the player's eyes and the other player crumbles into insecurity. Maybe after ranking up through the dungeons together, a duo might lose the spark that initially brought them together and require metallurgy counseling or third-party arbitration every time they need to split the loot. Or maybe, just maybe, the good devs at FromSoft are trying their best to open the hearts and minds of gamers everywhere to the possibilities of teamwork. Reddit sure seems to think so. Currently, the most common type of post on the Nightreign subreddit is from pairs of adventurers unicorn hunting for a third. Alas, while the devs tried to show us the door to a game of honest communication and vulnerability, after 1 week they've promised to cave to society's demand for normalized monogamy. I mean, playing Elden Ring with just one friend, that's what I was talking about.
During last Tuesday's State of Unreal 2025 live stream, Sean Shoptaw, Disney's EVP of Games and Digital Entertainment, declared that, quote, Disney and Epic are responsibly embracing emerging technologies, before announcing the integration of player-created AI NPCs in Fortnite. During a discussion of the historic AI Darth Vader bot in Fortnite, Shoptaw said that their collaboration with Epic, quote, puts creators at the center. He goes on to say a lot of stuff, but I would like to start with 3 comments. First, this is why, When you are an artist, whether you are a writer, actor, illustrator, musician, you should not call yourself a creator. Creator is a meaningless term used by managers to obfuscate labor and devalue art. Your work deserves better than being lumped in with slop. Second, I don't want to be on a squad with Darth Vader. Darth Vader's a legendarily violent religious fanatic who casually murders subordinates. I do not want to be in a position where I can take a health pack from Darth Vader. I do not want to tell Darth Vader he should do something. He should not react well to that. Third, Shopta said that they want to, quote, empower our fans to build their own experiences with the characters and stories they love. I own a pencil. I can already make Darth Vader do or say anything I want. I was doing it when I was 4. In fact, Disney doesn't do jack shit to empower fans. It does the opposite by aggressively litigating any experiences with the characters and stories they love. Epic Games VP for Creator Platform, Andrew Grant, then goes on to demonstrate their upcoming Persona device, using it to create a bot that is trying to get the player to press a glowing red button flanked by signs reading, "Do not press button." Tempting someone to do something that is forbidden is what you might call a foundational myth in several parts of the world, so this should resonate. A skilled writer could do a lot with this. A bad writer could still have fun with this. But what follows sucks. The AI chatbot describes the personality it was assigned and then whines at the executive to press the button. Have I mentioned that Paradise Lost is free? It's the Cadillac of button-pressing fic.
Good news for all of you who own a phone. You all own phones, right? Well, Activision Blizzard has wordlessly asserted the supremacy of mobile gaming by adding weapon bundle ads to the loadout screens in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Call of Duty Warzone. In-game ads are what make mobile games so unique, and player excitement is palpable. Look at these comments. Did they seriously add bundle ads to the weapon selection menu? It really feels like opening up a mobile game with how much more you see an option to buy anything in this game. Some players are already looking forward to the future, too. One player said, just wait until they add pop-up ads for bundles while you are playing the game. It's great news for a company that just had to go through an arduous merger, being asked all these questions about what they were going to do to ensure everyone on Earth got to play God's own murder simulator, Call of Duty. Activision already knew that mobile gaming is the way to go, given the success of Warzone Mobile. Sure, they canceled it, but now we know why. They wanted to use all available resources to give their best flagship games the full mobile experience. After all, I don't give a shit about Call of Duty, and I'm not just narrating whatever's in front of me so I can get out of here and play my Switch 2.
That's my Switch 2.
Technically correct.
Thanks again, by the way, for taking me to the midnight launch to pick that up.
It was fun.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. I was standing in a dark mall for 2 hours. There was a bunch of confetti on the floor, so maybe it'd been fun earlier in the evening.
Yeah, standing in a dark mall, but with confetti in your hair would have been a massive improvement.
Coming up, at last night's early Switch 2 launch, some GameStop locations set themselves up for a whole bunch of headaches by stapling pre-order receipts to the front of the box, which is also directly above the screen, and staples are made of pointy metal. Well, at least it wasn't expensive and or understocked.
I'd like to issue a atypical same episode correction. At the beginning of the show, when I said today, I erroneously referred to Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest as the Summer Games Fest. Because infuriatingly, it's the Summer Game Fest, even though everyone always calls it Summer Games Fest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care, so I'm not going back to correct it.
Great.
But I thought you should know that I know. I said in the sort of the intro there, you know, big day for gaming news, but not necessarily the kind of gaming news that like we tend to get a lot of stuff out of.
Usually, yeah. Like when it's like, hey, we're going to do a rundown of massive trailers. It's like something stupid had better happen during all the trailers for us to want to report.
This is another reason I miss the old E3 things, because you know you could have stuff like, why is that guy playing a flute?
Yeah.
Do you remember the discourse around that at E3 one year where they got? I think it might have been when they announced
Sekiro?
Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima, was it maybe, where they had a guy come out playing this amazing Japanese flute?
It's a shakuhachi.
Yeah. And people were like, couldn't they have gotten a Japanese person to play this flute instead of like this
white dude,
obvious white guy.
Yeah.
And then the next layer of that was like, this is one of the masters of this flute. Like, this guy, he's if you want anyone to play that instrument, this guy is the upper echelon of people who can do that.
Yeah.
But regardless, yeah,
you can't. I just want to say, you can't fake playing the shakuhachi. like it's like you be like, no, I know how to play this thing, and you get out there to try to do it, and it's like you can't like just be like, we can just grab some random asshole off the street and make him play it. It is exceedingly difficult to play. I have a shakuhachi made by a guy who was teaching it in Vancouver, and he made it out of PVC pipe, and he's like, it really works. I'm like, really? And I tried it, and I got one note, and he's like, you have done better than everybody else who has come across looking at these things today. So you got to know. And I'm like, fucking sold. And $80 I bought a shakuhachi, which I barely play.
Hell yeah. There was a game where the trailer started, and I was like, boy, this looks all kinds of fucked up. Like, this looks like a Suda 5-1 game. This is super weird. What the hell is this? And then it turns out, Grasshopper Manufacture, who haven't made a game in some years.
Yeah.
And then Suda afterwards was there, and he's like, hey, I'm back. Hey.
Someone gave me money, so
Yeah.
we're doing this shit again.
Yeah.
It's funny, too, because Heather said, oh, yeah, Suda 51's got a game. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Hotel Barcelona. And she's like, what? No, it's this other thing. I'm like, wait, Suda 51 is making 2 games? Because I got a thing in the mail recently that Swery and Suda 51 are collaborating on a game called Hotel Barcelona. And I was
Collaborating with Swery?
yeah. And I was like, is this because nobody wants to like do whatever it is that they have in mind anymore? There's like these people gravitate towards each other. And I'm like, at some point, Kojima's going to be like, and they're part of my team now. And we'll all have a big mass of shit that doesn't make sense. It'll be great.
We didn't report on this. You might have covered it on CheckPoint, actually. But
Sure.
Speaking of Kojima, there was a story going around about a week or two ago that he's like, I have a book of ideas for after I die.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, so that when I die, Kojima Productions can keep making stuff.
Yeah. Because what would they, if he was gone? I mean, it'd be weird to call it Kojima Productions if he was like no longer around. So I guess he's like, I have to. They would just have no ideas if I wasn't around.
Of course.
Idea men are one of the hardest things to find in the industry. If you have good ideas for video games, I implore you to go to every studio you can in person and just throw rocks at the windows until they let you tell your ideas to them.
Open with, quote, I have a great idea for a video game.
Yep.
And, they'll be like, right this way.
Yeah. Shit. Oh my God. Oof. We only know how to program stuff around here.
As a small correction,
Oh, yeah.
Hideo Kojima, in fact, gave a USB stick
That was it.
with all his ideas.
Not a
on it.
notebook, pardon me. Speaking of Kojima, they showed off a new trailer at State of Play for Metal Gear Solid Delta. This is the most we've seen of the footage of the game, and it looks like just a graphical remaster of Snake Eater. Like, it doesn't look like...
They didn't
Which is fine.
Yeah.
To be clear, that is fine. But I assumed it was from the early trailers that had, frankly, much higher fidelity graphics. I thought that it was like a full thing, but this looks like it's just a graphical upgrade, which is, again, totally fine. And also, the Ape Escape level is there.
Ah.
They made a point to show off, like, by the way, remember this? You probably don't.
But it's in there.
But it's in there.
Good
Where
for
like
them.
you as Snake run around catching the apes from Ape Escape, and he like chokes them out. It's very funny. Honestly, I watched the whole thing. It was an hour, and I was like, "Dang, these all look cool."
It's kind of what you want when those things are happening, I think, too,
Yeah.
right? It's like, we want to give you the rundown for what to expect in an upcoming period of time.
The Arc System Works thing is very funny. I mentioned in the story that
The Marvel game, yes.
Yes, they're like, making a very Arc game. So apparently they were like, they went to Arc and were like, do you want to make a Marvel fighting game? Because we haven't had a Marvel fighting game in ages. But remember, like, Marvel versus Capcom? Like, this used to be a whole thing.
Yeah.
We haven't done one in a while. Do you want to do it? And they were like, oh, that's a big thing. Yeah, you know what? Okay, yeah, let's do it. And then they would present their ideas to Marvel. And Marvel was like, could you make a game that's like the game that Arc System Works would like to make? This was all in a little documentary that followed the trailer as part of the State of Play. It sounded like they were going, okay, we have to do a Marvel game. We got to get all the Marvel stuff right. All right, here you go. We made it just like you would probably want it. And Marvel was like, no, we wanted to get something that like you would want it.
Yeah.
And Arc went, we'll be right back.
run out to their car, change a few drawings, and be like, okay, this is what we were actually thinking.
Yeah, which is why it looks very like stylized and anime and Japanese inspired, and why it's called Token.
Yeah.
The Marvel Token Fighting Souls is the name of the game, which is that's a very unusual name.
Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to mean. So.
I don't know either, so that looks sweet. Yeah, no, the state of play was totally fine. And then now we have this.
Yeah.
With its one launch title.
I mean, yeah. Graham bought
I got the bundle. Oh, yeah. It's the one launch title. You know, they're like, do you want to pre-order anything else? And I'm like, well, what is there? And they're like, well, here's the list. And it's like, well, there's the updates to the 2 Zelda games. There's Yakuza, which is not exclusive. There's Cyberpunk, which is not exclusive, and we'll play that. There's Street Fighter, which is not exclusive. So it's like, well, you got Mario Kart. Yeah. But, I mean, I got it, so now I got Mario Kart.
And yeah, Yakuza 0 as well. The pre-orders they're doing are for the Game Key card.
So is that something the shape of a Switch cart that you put in the Switch, and then it goes, oh, I'll download that?
Yes. It is basically a code on a cart, and there's not even like any sort of other stuff on there, or that has to download half of it or whatever. It's like, it's literally just you can buy a card that's 128 gigs or 256 gigs or 512 gigs, or you can buy a 2 megabyte cartridge. It's the cheapest option they have that they can just put a key on and then release that. And I'm like, I dislike that idea. I always have disliked that idea. And there's a part of me that's like, I'll just go buy the digital version, except that I'm like, but I can pay the same amount to get a piece of plastic I can put on my shelf, which will look cool. And I mean, the other exciting thing about that too is it's like, if I ever did want to sell a game to somebody else, it'd be like I can actually just sell the thing to them, and then they own the key, which means now it works on their system and not on mine anymore.
You won't, but it's the principle.
Exactly. Yeah. There is something else I want to mention. Okay. We described the experience to waiting in line for this thing, which feels like it was fairly arduous, and we showed up late.
They opened at 9 p.m.
and we got there at 11:30. So there
was still over 100 people waiting.
Yeah, and we didn't get out of there until 1:45. We were there for a while, but the thing is like the amount of people that were in front of us, about 100 people maybe, right? Why did it take 2 hours and some change for them to get 100 people through a line?
They had 3 tills going, too.
Yeah. If you're assuming that it's like 1 minute per person.
It was not 1 minute.
It didn't feel like 1 minute per person, which is still like 100 minutes. But it's like, no, this didn't feel like that. It felt like we would stand and wait. And then they would take like a new block of people into the store. And then you'd have to wait for them to get through. And when you got up to the counter, you asked for this.
Yep.
Then you asked for like the charging grip. And they were like, cool.
Yeah.
We'll go find one of those. It took them a few minutes to find whatever.
I hadn't pre-ordered the charging grip, but they did find they had 1 remaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they when they did actually find it, I'm like, okay, so that's fine. You got this now and you got that. That's all waiting for you. You're going to pay. And then I walked away from the till because I'm like, I'm just going to bang around for like the 60 seconds it's going to take you to put your card out and do whatever. And I think you were there for like another 3 or 4 minutes at the till after they had rung everything in and was kind of waiting for the transaction to proceed. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why it would take you 6 or 7 minutes to buy two things.
There was a lot of ancillary cruft that needed to be handled. I mean, part of it was finding this because they thought they had these, and then they couldn't find them, but then they did, but they had been pre-ordered, so they were spoken for, but the people hadn't come in to get their pre-order that night. They were there for tomorrow. And so this was the unspoken for one, so this took a little longer to find. But a lot of it was also like, got to look you up, got to apply the pre-order, got to do the thing. Now you got to pay. Do you want the warranty? No. Okay. Do you know how?
But even after you said, I don't want the warranty, and you like getting your card out ready to pay, I walked away and I'm like, why does it feel like we're waiting another 3 or 4 minutes for them to go? Like, what are they clearing? Are they sending shit back to Nintendo to say this is now a registered purchase?
They did have to scan the serial number.
Yeah. But I mean,
you're right. But also, I got one.
Yes.
So better than like, I don't know, Amazon, certainly.
My question for people in the audience is, and go to the comments,
I didn't even staple a receipt to it.
Yeah. Go to the comments. If you went to one of those midnight launches and you managed to get one, briefly describe what the experience was like. Were you at a Best Buy or were you somewhere else and be like, oh yeah, I walked in and then I waited. There was like 100 people in front of me and I waited 6 minutes and then I was out with my shit. It's like, if that's what happened to you, I would love to know how it was different across different parts of, and say like the rough area where you're from, like your state or province, and be like, I was here and I did this in this province or in this part of the province or whatever. I'm just curious to know if it was that way across everywhere that you went that everyone was waiting like forever to try to pick up their stuff. That's all.
And then when you're done that, you can support the show and everything we do here at Loading Ready Run on Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun.
And also through, since you'll be on YouTube leaving a comment, you can be a member of the YouTube channel at LRR Videogames, or LRRVG, I think is our shorthand for that. And anybody who is helping us there, you're going to see your names come up right after the boop.
And speaking of boop, bye-bye, boop, 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 boop. That didn't work. Goodbye.
Bip, 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 bip.